Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Musings and Music Show. I think you can see my smile already. I am delighted. I am tickled, blue, black, pink, purple, maybe is what I should say, because I have with me here a little sister after my own heart. I've been wanting to have her on this show forever. It's going to be hard to streamline what I have to discuss with her to one particular topic because she and I can chat on so many different levels about so many things. But before I go on even one more minute, I'm going to ask her to go ahead and introduce herself to the listening and viewing audience. So who are you, ma'am?
So first of all, before I even introduce myself, good morning, Sister EGBE. It's still morning where I am, so allow me to say good morning and good afternoon. It's really an honor to be speaking with you. I know we've known each other for I don't know how many donkey years. We dare not say how many years, lest
No.
they guess our age. But from when you chaperoned me through primary school and so forth, but just you've always been a very dear big sister to me, and I've always admired everything you do. But so just wanted to take a minute to say that before I even step into trying to introduce myself. So I'm Gwen. Everybody always says, introduce yourself. I'm Gwen. I'm Gwen Shang, Gwendolyn, the way my mother calls me when I'm in trouble. But GWEN SHANG, I live in the Bay Area, as you can see from my background. That's the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So I live in the Bay Area, been here for about 10 years, really trying to spend more time with my family, my younger growing family out in the Bay Area. And they're also raising two beautiful girls. So the more reason, as you see how that will roll into our conversation today. So, you
Right.
know, I grew up in Yaoundé, in Cameroon, attending the bilingual primary school, the bilingual secondary school, had my stint in Lourdes, which was just a blessing to be in one of the most prestigious girls' school in Cameroon. And it really gave me a lot of perspective about being a girl and just living among girls, because all my education and all my life I had been in, you know, mixed schools, the way we used to call them back there. So co-ed. But yeah, so now, grown woman, I'm a physician by training, but I work in the pharmaceutical industry. Been doing that for the past 20 years or so, loving every step of it and learning again as I go the role of the girl, the woman, and the Black woman
Right.
in industry, and just realizing our potential as I go along. We've been really blessed as I've gone through my career. So that's a little bit about me. I don't know what else I could say.
Emphasis on the
Um,
little, because
yeah,
you don't know, there is so much to you
yeah,
that meets the eye right there. And I saw how you just didn't want to put the doctor in there. You
yeah,
just let that slide. I just read to you as Gwen. That is you,
yes,
simple you. And I'm
yes.
glad to have you on here. I don't want to go right now and mention whose daughter she is because that's going to open another page. It's going to come
Yeah,
up in the conversation though. It's like
yes,
when her mother Gwendolyn, when she does, is what her mother calls her when she's been back, she's not done something right. And,
yes,
and I'll say upfront shout out to my friend and sister, who is her older sister, Judith
yes, yes,
Zella. And that's who we have known. So she's always been our little sister. So
yes.
she already kind of let the cat out of the bag. We are here to talk about the girl child. You know how they say the girl child. And sometimes we're not even too sure. When something becomes a slogan, becomes something that is used a lot, we begin to wonder how would you define the girl child? You personally, how do you define the girl child?
So for me, that's a very, very provocative question. Because it's when you ask me to define the girl child, my question back to everyone who's listening is, how do you think of a child as a girl child, right? Especially in today's society where we we are being faced with some very unconventional challenges with genderism. And so how do you really and I think that's, you know, one of the things that keeps coming up to my mind, but what do you really represent as the girl child? What do you consider as the girl child? To me, the girl child is a budding woman. That's how I always look at it. It's a budding woman. Whether you were born that way or whether you became that way, you're a budding woman. And it comes with all the intricacies of womanhood. And whether physiologic or not, the most important part is emotional womanhood. And some of the things that we go through as women, it stems from us being girls. So it's, for me, it's, again, my best definition is, think of it as a flower. And, you know, you're a budding woman. And so what would I want you to achieve or to attain or to have that will prepare you for a womanhood when your flower completely blooms, is how I look at it as the girl. That's who I consider the girl child. So it's anyone who plays the role of the opposite gender of male, right? Of boy. And, you know, they go through a lot of phases, especially the teenagers. And so for me, when I talk about the budding woman or the budding female, the budding, you know, woman going into womanhood, I also focus a lot on the younger age groups, so the teenagers. That doesn't exclude people in their early 20s, in their early 30s. For me, for as long as you're still considering yourself a girl, you're a girl. And, you know, it's when do we cross those boundaries of now you're a woman versus where now you're a girl?
That is bringing a different topic up there, because you know how we are Africans, we come from Cameroon.
Yes.
You'll be amazed at what it is that is considered, okay, now you're a woman. Is it your period? Is it that you start to develop breasts? What is it exactly? Is it that when you get married? It's a very fluid kind of a thing. That's why I was asking, because some people may say, why are you asking how to define the girl child? What do you mean by the girl child? Like, who fits in that category? You've done a beautiful job of actually just saying what it is generally. And based on what you said, I can see where we can draw some kind of a demarcation between the African girl child and the Western girl child in general. Because there are some challenges that are universal. No matter on the planet you go, there are glass ceilings there that I'm thinking about. Because of where we come from, specifically the African or the Cameroonian girl child. And I would like you to speak to that, whether you to see that demarcation, and what we do should be a little different depending on what kind of girl child we're talking about.
And you know, Stagber, it's very interesting because I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of nieces who were raising back home. And it's just such an eye-opener. And, you know, I guess we're going to come to that as to the things I support, but it's just always such an eye-opener when I go back and I talk to them and I think of where I'm coming from how I was raised by Mama Olivia, right? In the time when I was a budding woman, right? To how they are today and what influences they have in their societies today. So for me to talk about the African girl child, I have to take a step back, and I would like everyone to take a step back and consider the societal changes that are ongoing that we technically refuse to acknowledge because we're stuck in the way we were. And I think we fail to acknowledge the fact that things are changing. Society is changing. These kids are changing. There's social media, there's the social influence, the way I call it, that is hugely impacting how they interact, how they grow. And so we need to start adapting ourselves to those societal norms in order to adequately bring these kids or these girl children into the 21st century, or who knows what century they're going to go to, but but as we move year on year, and I take it year on year, it's like the challenges grow, the things evolve and so forth, but we must take a step back and really change ourselves, or
Right.
educate
Perspective.
ourselves
Mm-hmm.
educate ourselves
Mm-hmm.
on what the girl child today looks like
Yeah.
and what they need.
That was the thing, the keyword, what they need. Because you see, even for us, I know it's the same thing for you. Even for us, there are certain things, because of the way our mothers were raised, that they did. You tend to do the same, like what your own mother did for you, not necessarily factoring in the fact that it's a different era and different thing. For that, I would give your mother, since you mentioned her, I would give her kudos, because she really was ahead of her time. So let us go ahead and just put her out there. Well, she's talking about, she said Mama Olivia. So this is sitting right here, the daughter of Mrs. Olive Shang, that did the Half the World is Woman thing,
Yeah.
calling the women show
Yeah.
on Radio Cameroon before it became CRTV. It was just Radio Cameroon. And she was talking about going to conferences in Beijing, and we're like, what is all that about? Talking about things about, there's a song that will play halfway through the thing, Half the World is Woman. She has something to say, and we're looking like, no, what do we even have to say? Because we were supposed to just be there, get education. And those of us who even grew out in the city, even were the ones with some dreams. The average person that was raised in a village or so just knew, learn to read and write, then you get married, have some children, be able to cook and everything, and it's kind of done. But this being getting the ambition of wanting to get a better education, go further, that already was ahead of things. Now it's also a matter of like, what is appropriate? Let me take an example. Talking to what to tell your daughter, what conversations you have about what you should do, dating. So his mother was sitting her down there saying, okay, telling them dating advice kinds of things. And so most homes, those discussions weren't had. And you could kind of control what your daughter also got to know or be exposed to, because it was your aunties, whoever else was there that did the talking. But then now we actually have social media, like you said. If you don't want to say, don't say.
Don't say.
Find out. She's going to find out. She's going to
She's
find out
going to record you too.
Correct. So I see where you're coming from with this about what the girl child needs. So what opinion do you think she needs, this budding woman?
Yeah. So, Sister, I want to make a reference that has really been front and center in my life. About my mother. She had, I think, one of her most groundbreaking shows, if you ask me, was when she tackled the issue of birth control in Cameroon. Of course, in Cameroon, but she went there. Birth control was one of those things that everybody spoke of under their sleeves, right? But my mother brought it front and center. Again, on the radio, she had like 3 or 4 episodes going on about birth control, and I almost opened the ground and went into the soil just from embarrassment, like all these mothers are, why is she talking about? But she went there.
Right.
So talking about the conversations that we're having, that show to me was groundbreaking, to me was epic. To me, my mother really showed me she was daring. She went and touched a topic that everybody skated.
Even now,
and she went there. But she never included the girl child. She never included the children, the girls who were supposed to be on this, who the debate was about. Like, should they be on birth control or shouldn't they be on? The girls were completely excluded from this conversation.
From the debate.
Yeah, so that's why I say, what is it that the girl child really needs? Is it for us to talk to them, or is it for us to talk with them?
Right.
So for me, if you ask me to summarize what the girl child needs today, as we go into this new era of technology and everything, I think we need to speak with the girl child. We need to be communicating with our girl children.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether they're 10 years old, 8 years old, or 21 or 25.
Right.
They're still our girl child for as long as we consider them a girl child.
Right.
And we need to be talking with them.
Right.
Again, I go back to my nieces and nephews.
Mm-hmm.
I have stumbled so many times with my notion that, hey, look, this is what is right because my parents taught me this.
Right.
Versus, auntie, it doesn't work like that these days. You know, the things that we need to. So I have to sit back and take a step back and listen to them. And,
True.
you know, I hate to say this to my sisters, but they still think I'm the favorite auntie. But, you know, but I think it's because I listen and
Right.
and I put myself in their shoes and I go, if I was living in this world today, what would I have wanted to happen?
Myself,
How
yeah.
would I have addressed this topic?
All right.
You know, just listen to them. We can go on about the things we listen to them about.
Mm-hmm.
But if we listen to them and if we just object ourselves for a minute from our societal norms and the way we were raised, and just for a second, put ourselves in this world they live in,
Right.
you'd be amazed at how differently we would look at things and at the level of advice we would give them.
And
Yeah.
and even if we do not end up endorsing or supporting all of the views that they have, but at least be able to respect them and see where they're coming from. Because sometimes what they just want is to be understood. As
Yeah.
opposed to just shutting them down and saying, which kind of abomination is this you're talking about? What kind of thing is this? You know, something as simple as what they do now. Many of them go to, because of the way their life is out here. I'm thinking now about some of people who are out here in the quote unquote Western world. Talk about finding a partner. What you're talking about. So if you have the idea of, okay, no, the guy is supposed to come up to you and ask you out, that kind of a thing. But they're like, which kind of forward picking that? She's going to ask the person out. Then you talk about the dating sites, you know, the website where you meet this person and are they compatible? Hey, it's a big issue. So they're even having trouble coming to tell you that this person that I'm dating, I've met him on the
online.
Yes.
Because we have completely branded online as so out of this world.
Right.
Again, how are we even encouraging that? Let's even just move away from the dating part is just a whole can of worms because I myself, I tell myself, when I was growing up, where was the internet?
Indeed. And you see, you try to wrap your brain around it. That's one of the things that I want to stay teaching in high school. It helps me see things from their point of view, which I have gone, woo.
Yes.
You know, and take it as a thing. Because I was like, okay, come to think of it. Think about it seriously. What the matchmaking that people used to do. Your family is doing this matchmaking with this other family.
Exactly.
And they're saying compatibility, but that is what the kids themselves are looking at.
Yes.
So you have
they're cutting us out of that equation.
Right.
They're doing it by themselves. They're growing up and they're doing it by themselves.
Right.
They're not letting us control their lives.
Right.
And I think that's where we're having issues. And I think, you know, again, going back to what do they need is that partnership, that communication, that level of understanding. I'm not saying be, you know, all mushy with your kids. No, we still have to, you know,
the boundaries of
the boundaries and at least show them, you know, teach them in our best view what is right or wrong. There is still that demarcation of right or wrong in this world. There is.
Right.
But I think we need to just take a step back on understanding what is truly right or wrong. Take, for example, developing talent.
Right.
And right now, a lot of my nieces, you know, I have just 2 or 3 who are still lingering in their grade school years, but a lot of them have graduated now. They've gone through college. And I think the hardest time I had was understanding what they wanted to do in life.
Right.
Because we were raised, you know, you be a lawyer, you be a doctor, you be a pharmacist, you know, even an accountant at the time was frowned upon, but now it's like, you know, an accountant is part of the big 4 or the big 5. But you know, so we had that mentality, but now they have such diversity in what they can do. And when they come to you with these majors, I go like, well, what exactly are you talking about? But you know, it took that learning to go back. Someone who wants to be a musician, look at how much money musicians make. Go there back in our days that you want to be a musician, so you're a band girl.
Yes, so
you're cursed for life.
Yeah, no. Your mother will go into deep mourning, actually, probo head and black, if you ever came and said that kind of a thing. And we were raised that way, and there's many of us who are now doing things that we don't necessarily would have done had we had the option. Yes. So it's kind of but let's talk a little bit education-wise. Because you and I would say we were blessed. I'm doing this thing here because sometimes this thing is fleeting. So let me do a little fix here.
Worries.
So we were blessed to have parents who were pretty open-minded. I'd say that. Yours, mine.
Oh, yes.
And also, I would say, privileged in the sense that, okay, they said you go to school and you went to school. You didn't even have any option. Like, I'm going to stop here. Look, you went to class 1, got to class 7, first school certificate and common entrance, off to secondary school you went. After you didn't dare come and say, I'm done now, I want to sit, I had to keep going. Let's think about girls now. This thing is just giving you a little headache here.
Oh, no worries. On my end, you're fine.
Oh, good. So I'll just go on talking. So there's the education part, which we know, as we've said, is the kind of the equalizer thing, gives the average girl a little bit more leverage in the world, getting the chance of getting a good job, a career, and all of that thing, no matter what it is that they choose to do. We talk about the basic education being the important thing. So now parents have got it. Most, even African parents included, nobody's, I mean, not say nobody. Most people are not saying, okay, I'll send my boys to school, I'll not send my girls to school.
Oh, yeah, we'll pass that.
Correct. But we still have what I would say would be the barriers, like, you know, about this, they're talking about STEM these days. Careers that girls tend to not want to go to. I don't know whether it's really not want to go to, but let me rephrase that, are not encouraged to go into. And so you have fewer people wanting to do that. How would you say we should address the education aspect of this whole girl-child thing? Is it just that we would sponsor them, we would encourage them?
Yeah.
Go to careers? How do you see it? What do you think is the thing? Talk about their needs. What would their educational needs be, you think?
Yeah. And you know, that's such a great question, Stegberg, because I don't really think that it's because girls are not encouraged to go into those STEM programs. I think it's a lack of education on the STEM programs. You know, if you think about, and please, I'm just calling out a region out of, you know, because it comes to my head. But if you think about the girl going to GHS Bambui, and not to take anything away from GHS Bambui,
I know what you mean though.
Yeah, but if you see a girl going to GHS Bambui, she is smart as they come, right? But nobody has ever talked to her about these programs. Nobody has ever, you know, presented these programs to them. So I think one of the things, if you're talking about sponsorship, I don't know that you can really do a complete roadshow of every school and every, you know, second. You really want to impact secondary and higher school education, but if we start incorporating those seminars or curricula into those, you know, inserting those into their curriculum, and saying, you must now talk about these children about career options, and you must now start talking about these children about what is available out there, the programs that are available out there. There's so much that the Western world funds, scholarships that go to waste, basically, because nobody applies. And it's not because of, there's so many levels of things that can happen. But I think the biggest one of them is ignorance, in the sense that people are not aware of those things. So I think when kids are going into secondary school, like for us in the Anglophone system, where we pick our majors when we're in like Form 3 and going into Form 4, you decide if you're a scientist or you're an art student. And I think in Form 3, for example, before you make that big decision, it's the place where they need to start talking to them about these things, right?
100%.
Yeah, if you're going to go into the sciences, for example, these are your options, and these are some of the basics that you need, and these are some of, you know, I used to think, for example, that math was something that people who wanted to do engineering and stuff needed. And for me, who wanted to go into medicine, biology was my big thing, right? But how wrong was I? Physics is actually incredibly important, right? But nonetheless, I think it's just one of those things where we have to start doing career formation training,
Right.
or seminars or education, career option education to these kids when they're still in those years where they're trying to make those decisions,
Make
and
up their
they're trying
minds.
to, yeah, and by the time they get into high school, they are already knowing about those extensive programs
What's
of,
open to them? Yeah.
yes, brought up to them. And I mean, how many times do we see our kids leave secondary school from Cameroon and come here and go
Yep.
straight into uni? So that's why
Right.
I'm going back into that secondary school phase to start educating them as
That
to what the
early.
possibilities are. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And so I'm wondering, because I know we have to get there eventually before we sit here
Mhm.
forever and ever. You are
Mhm.
somebody who has supported and funded a lot of things that have to do with the development, empowerment, enrichment of the girl child. I happen to belong to a group called the Secret Stars Global Alliance, which is STAR. And
Mhm.
I cannot count how many times, nor do I dare say how much you have donated towards
Mhm.
that group. That group has been there 7 years, just 7 years.
Mhm.
Every year without fail. Dr. Gwen has donated this. We will dance and sing and do a somersault and be happy and that kind of a thing. So I would say, now let me start by asking you, why is it that you fund which is also tied to what would you like to have done with
Mhm.
what those funds you donate? You
Mhm.
trust us, you've seen what we do. That is
Mhm.
why you support and you give the money. If somebody was and I know you don't ever micromanage what happens to what you have donated.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yes, never ever. Let me make that clear. She doesn't say this, I gave this, so, and then come and now stand over your head with a thing. We are the we are the ones who say, here's what we did, put out a report,
Yeah.
what we call a report card, and say what we did with what. But I just want to use the opportunity now to first of all thank you for doing that. Because first of all, it's not even only our group that you donate to. Pretty much anything that's good, that's going to foster the girl child's enrichment, you do.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for us, because we are coming up soon in June with the whole fundraiser time again,
Mhm.
we know you're going to donate. If you had the chance, if you were asked to say, what is it that you'd like to see done with these
Mhm.
funds, not just with the funds that you donate, with the funds that we get in general,
Mhm.
you'd like
Mhm.
to see them earmarked for?
Mhm. You know, let me just start by saying, you know, I I I don't donate because, oh gosh, I probably have. It's I'm sharing. I'm sharing what God has given
When
me,
you, yeah.
and what He gave me is just a conduit. I'm just a conduit
Mhm.
for His many blessings.
Right.
So I'm a big believer that, when you to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I just channel those blessings to different organizations to help other people to hopefully get someday to a better place than where they are today, which is how I got to where I am.
Right.
So that's why I donate, if you really want to know.
Mhm.
But again, why specifically to organizations that support the girl child? Thank my mother,
Okay.
because my mother has always raised us. I mean, she did raise us, and she continues to this day to put into our heads the importance of always supporting women
Mhm.
and the girl child, or the female gender, if you
Right.
will.
Right.
So, because again, we may have had a lot of equality things going on these days, but we still have a long way to go. And my mother,
You.
even the last time I went to Cameroon, she goes, "Don't stop, never stop, because we can never do too much,
Mm.
right?" So that kind of encourages me to look for. I literally look for organizations that support women, that support the girl child, and so forth. So that kind of goes back to why I scouted, why I'm
You
a
look
big
out for.
proponent of
Yep.
what you guys do.
Right.
And I'm always very amazed at some of the projects. And a lot of times you guys send me, what you're doing, and I look at it and I'm just in awe. Like, oh my God, they're really thinking through things. They're really thinking about helping the girls. Like you said, I do not micromanage what you do. I share, and you guys use it as you see fit. But for me, the one thing that if I had my pick, if I had my way, if I had a minute to contribute to what you guys do, I'd say just continue with that education of, you know, informing them of their chances, of their options, whatever you can do to keep that in mind for them to be. And I think what I'm trying to get at is help them to make informed choices.
Exactly.
However you're going to achieve that is really something that you guys will strategize about and come up with tactics on how to implement that. But the goal is to teach. For me, my goal would be teach these girls and women and young ladies what their options are.
Exactly.
And find ways to support the options that they choose. So those are the two things. So STEM, tell them about it, educate, find a way to figure out how we can incorporate that into the school curriculum, right? And once they do that and they decide, oh, yeah, I want to do this, let us all look for resources and find resources to support their internship programs, to support, mentorship programs and such. That is where I see your money's worth. And the last thing I want is for a girl to say, okay, I'm just going to pick I want to be a pharmacist. And, we want to support them through a pharmacy tech internship, just so they can go to a pharmacy, learn how things work, develop them into a pharmacy technician, and then but from there, they can have firsthand view. Your organizations could facilitate that. And with the funds that we provide, especially in Cameroon.
Yep, that's where our hearts are set.
Some level of basic salary.
Yep.
That you're not imposing on the person who's offering their pharmacy to give them that internship to now have to pay them. But if these programs could just support them, no matter how small, but that fact that they're earning something is already so empowering to them. And it gives them a good sense of, this is what you can achieve and more.
Exactly.
So it's, to me, that is so fundamental. That is so fundamental. So not only giving them that opportunity, but making them see what that opportunity can yield
for them down the road, and giving them opening other doors and saying this.
Yes.
Because they have different gifts. Like we know, we're all endowed with different gifts. And sometimes we string them into this box, put them into this box where they're not even encouraged to think outside that box. That's all that they see. Because I've spoken to the MBIWAN, who is an aerospace engineer, and it's a seminar like that got her thinking. She was like, before she was thinking, my dad is a doctor, I just go be a doctor too. And that's what I tend to be. My uncle is a this, my aunt is a so and so thing, which we thank God for those things because they have examples they can look at. But is that necessarily what the kid herself, the girl herself, is thinking of doing? So I really hear what it is that you're saying.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned mentorship, definitely.
Yes. It's to me, it's if we have to just bullet point it, do it work. It's like, speak to them, listen, give them their options, show them their options, educate them on their options. And when they do choose, support those options and empower them with those options.
Employ them if you can.
Those are the steps. Yeah.
Because some of us have the means too. You actually have the organization too, and sometimes you look at the things, and sometimes that will help them too, that they've gone to school and everything, and then career-wise, now you, the lawyer person, maybe they can work in your chambers for an internship, and if they do a good job, then go ahead and hire them and things like that, so that they help them through the process. Or sometimes we think just about paying the tuition. That is still progress though. Sometimes, I mean, my heart broke the other day when the principal was telling me there's this lady who works with them there. She lost her husband. And what's about to happen is that they're going to take the next coming school year. That child is not likely to be in that school anymore because that she's not going to be able to afford it. And you just think to yourself, what if that had been me? That's the thing, putting yourself in that person's situation. That had been me. Maybe they didn't put them in a government school, but for some people, that means dropping out clean and clear.
But you know, Sister Ekwe, another thing too that I really want to take advantage of this platform to raise is, you know, we've been talking about the educated girl child, or the girl child who's in an educational pathway or track, right?
Yes.
But to me, I think the most needy and the area of most unmet need in the girl child discussion is those girls who don't have an opportunity to be in an educational institution. I take a step back and say, in Cameroon, we are blessed that at least it's, when I was growing up, it was mandatory that you send your child to school. And yeah, not everybody did, but you know, those kids who are not going to have that opportunity to even have basic elementary education.
Right.
But I think, you know, looking back at what my parents did and how we could leverage that to be able to reach to those women or those girls who do not have those opportunities through co-ops, through, you know, regional centric co-ops where they have a center where they could go to and have opportunities or lectures or, you know, exposure to trade, different kinds of trade in different kinds of skill development, different, you know, how they can hone in whatever skills they love best. Something as easy as cooking that we call easy as cooking. But look at how many chefs we could get. You don't need no college degree to be a, you know, a top class chef in Cameroon. It, like, our food doesn't need a degree. You need to learn how to cook, right? So, but it's just those things. And I look at how my mother, she used to bring these women in the Kongadra movement, and they were women from all different walks of life. But the pearls that they were able to pull out of there were able to sustain them, grow their small business selling this. And how do you manage your small business selling in the market and things like that? But I look back and those skills help them to support their families without them going through an education or a formal education. So I would love for us to scout those kinds of organizations and support them to be able to bring into the fold those girls who are not privileged to go into a teaching institution.
School, regular school.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And I think maybe that's where more and more trade things, as you say, skills, arts and crafts things, because the bottom line is sustainability. Can't really be independent, because we think about the nightmare is where they are married off to some older person somewhere. Now they need, that is what they need, that for their livelihood's sake. Or somebody is staying in a very abusive marriage thing, because if she leaves, they can't do, you know. So give them, empower them that way, not necessarily, I'm glad you brought that aspect up, not necessarily in the education track like many of us went, but every girl child is a girl child.
Exactly.
Right, to be able to make something out of her life through that educational way, or just doing something that not only help, as you said, sustains her family, but also it just makes her feel good about herself. And not just
I mean, do you know, walking now in my age, in my 50s, I think nobody has any doubt that I'm in my 50s. But in my 50s, I ask myself every single day, what is it that makes me the happiest? And it's just looking myself in the mirror and feeling fulfilled with the little or the much that I have. It's that feeling of fulfillment. And it doesn't take much.
No.
It doesn't take much.
And
but you know,
it doesn't fit in any particular one box.
No. It's just, I look at myself and I go, you done well. And I move on. But going back, so I think there's a lot of institutions and a lot of organizations that take care of the girl child in the educational system. But there are not so many institutions that take care of the girl child who's outside of it. So again, I'm going to keep making my plug to your organization is
No, I'm
that
listening,
is
and
something
they
you
will be
guys
listening
can
too.
pick
They'll
up
be listening too. Yeah.
and pick up. And it would really warm my heart if I could see you guys. I know there's the girl who's not going to have her tuition paid, but that tuition, and again, yes, we're always going to look out for who is most in need.
Right.
But I also think if we took, half of that money and supported a co-op program in a smaller village that reaches 20 girls, we would have still achieved our goal.
We've been
So,
doing one that's called Bright Lights, where they do that kind of vocational training too. That's they did in the last 2 years, which is after following what you're saying. What maybe we need to figure out is how to do that, especially for, I'm thinking about the internally displaced people.
of course, of
Yeah,
course.
because they are, it's not that they necessarily chose not to go to the educational thing. We're talking
No,
circumstances have put them in the place
of
where
course.
that
Yes.
cannot be done anymore.
Sadly enough. Yeah.
How do they now cope? Because
Mm.
they too are part of, they are the girl child,
Mm-hmm.
underprivileged in a different kind of way for different kinds of reasons. And that's also, we really do need to broaden our minds about which is why I was asking about defining who the girl child is.
Mm-hmm.
So they come in all shapes and sizes, from all kinds of places, they're in all different kinds of stages. So
It's
that's
the budding woman. It's the budding woman. We're catering to that next mother. We're catering to that next auntie. We're catering to that next grandmother. We're catering to that next caregiver.
right.
And it's just, it's that emotional thing, so.
And if we don't get her fit and fulfilled before
Mm-hmm.
she starts bearing her own children, then the
Mm-hmm.
cycle is just going to continue, because she can only give what it is that she has.
Yes, we need to listen.
Right.
We just need to listen.
Mhm.
Listen to what they're looking for. Help them navigate their path and support them through it,
Right.
It's I say that so lovingly because I just think of my nieces and nephews that, especially my nieces the boys are not going to get upset. But yeah, my nieces that I completely, absolutely adore. And, the one thing I always wake up in the morning is, have I given them the best advice? Have I put them on the right path? Have I given them a shoulder to cry on? Have I given them a safe space where they can come to? And
No matter what it
spill their
is,
hearts
yes, yes.
without repercussion. You're going to get a little bit of a
Definitely.
scolding sometimes, but, it's
No,
okay.
but you need to know that yes, yes. Come, let me scold you, but I will listen. I keep
But
telling
I would love you.
I will love you. It will come from a place of love. So I'm telling you ahead of time. Come on.
Yes.
The same thing with the students. You come, I'm going to chew you out. Get ready for it. Then I'm like, okay, I'm done now with the chewing out. So how are we going to fix this
How are
thing?
we going to
What
fix
can we do?
this?
Yes. I even sometimes we share tissue. I dab my eyes. You dab your own eyes too.
Yeah.
And then we think, what am I going to do? Yes, this is what you call. It's all kinds of things. And
Yes.
you think about what role you can play in their lives and make such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot but try to do it. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
but do your own little bit, because that's
Mm-hmm.
actually going to be it's life changing for
Mm-hmm.
most of them. They just need it. And it doesn't have to come from their own biological mom all the time. Sometimes it even can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening there for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
It can actually be that. That is how to do this whole. It's a complicated thing. Now,
Yeah.
before I let you go, what
Yes.
about the rule now? Because I'm in different forums there. I see that some of the guys say, okay, now, girl child, girl child, girl child. Now they don't forget man picking them. They're like, boys are also suffering, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
I just
They
want to
are.
address it. I kind of know the answer to that kind of thing because I go back and I respond.
Mm-hmm.
The same way people say Black Lives Matter. Okay, but all lives matter. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so what do you have to say to our dear men folk who say, okay, now the girl child, look at how now nobody's paying attention to the boys who are having either the same issues or
Mm-hmm.
worse. So what would you think? What would their response be?
Oh, to the boys, I'll just tell them I love them. I'll just tell them I love them. And, I think with the boys in particular, it's always important for us to teach them responsibility.
Right.
Not that girls don't need to be taught that, but I think, in our society,
Mhm.
in, back home and in our culture,
Mhm.
the men, we really need to raise responsible young men
Mhm.
who understand the value of family, who understand the value of relationships, who
Mhm.
understand the value of, no matter how strong the woman is going to be, the man is always going to
Whatever.
be the head of the household.
Right.
And so we always have to teach them how to be a good head of household, if
Right.
you will.
Right.
And I'm not taking that role away. A lot of times the woman would end up being that, but nonetheless, in our culture,
Right.
the man is the head of the household. And it's not like I tell my siblings and my family, my friends, I say, respect is not something that I'll give you. You got to earn it.
And it.
You have to earn it from me.
Mhm.
And so if you want to be a good head of household, you need to earn that
Right.
title. And
Right.
so how do we empower them to earn that title?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It is the things that I would focus on. And it all starts with responsibility
It
to
does.
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have to take it on ourselves. We are women. We are the ones that raise those men, who raise
Are
those
you kidding?
men. So,
Are
so
you
if
kidding
if
me?
we're not seeing what we like, we too
Yeah.
to reflect on what we are doing to be
Yeah.
able to get our boys that we are raising to be the kind of men that we are saying we want these girl children to go
Yeah.
a partner with. And so I
And it's okay for a musician to marry our daughters. It's okay.
you
He's
see,
not a band boy. I keep laughing over that because
son boy, Gary boy,
that's not
bad
Gary
boy.
boy. I
Yes.
remember when I told my mother I was remotely interested in playing the guitar, she almost had a heart attack. Like, there she goes. She's completely lost
That's
now.
not it. Unheard of. Unheard of. So
Let alone if a boy who plays the guitar try to date me. God forbid.
how is it going to feed you? How is it going to feed you all and that kind of a thing? It is just it's just a way that we be doing. I will always go back to the Nickelback thing. That was his music line. Remember that song? He was telling the story about how he said, I want to go be on a music, I'll go play. Oh, that's
I always pick on the music thing because it was just the most
out
ridiculous pushback.
outrageous. Yes, outrageous thing that nobody wanted to hear it. Oh, they're not dancing to the music themselves. Oh, in a party, they're dancing to the music themselves. Then
Who was
which
supposed
child
to
do
be
you want to
playing
go?
that music? Somebody else's child, not my child.
Why should not my child? Then what happens? You preach the thing until when it comes to your child, like,
Oh, fella has 40 wives. Yeah, but not my daughter.
Not my daughter, not my daughter who will dance the lady and the shakara or loje, but not don't come on
Oh
not my
my
child, not
God.
my niece or my niece either, not anybody that I know. All right. So do you like some people say, are you in any way no, I'm not call it scared or afraid or anticipating that there may be a time when we do girl child, girl child, girl child, and then finally the balance, the pendulum swings to the other side? Do you foresee that happening at any point in time? Can we do girl child? The girls get educated, then the men get emasculated, get a complex that cannot. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know quite how to ask the question.
I totally hear you. And my hope is not that I don't have a fear that the pendulum is going to swing. My fear is that the other side of the pendulum is never going to come to equilibrium with us. Because I see a lot of organizations about the girl child.
Right.
I don't see, and maybe it's just my ignorance, but I don't see that from the boy child perspective.
That's
And so that's why I'm saying I'm just worried that pendulum is not going to come back to equilibrium where we're
side by
equally
side.
talking about the girl child and the boy child to be able to form a very
Balance.
homogeneous society, if you
Right.
will, like bringing everybody as close as we possibly can to that understanding.
Right.
The discussions about the girl child would never go away because
They
women are
shouldn't.
just very, very cognizant of the fact that we still have a long way to go.
Right.
And so we've moved the discussion from supporting the woman, which my mother did, to now bringing it into the girls, right? But I think the other side needs to also come up and meet us somewhere. So
And
I
that's
want to
why,
encourage men
right.
to do that, men's
The same
organization.
mentorship thing. Teach them also to be ready to be compatible, if I can call it,
Mhm.
work well with this new kind of culture that's emerging.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing, you're sitting there, but nobody's going to not send their girl child to school anymore and wait for you, and you expect to find this wife that will just sit there and just say, sir, sir, and come and serve you your fufu and go find, sit in the corner back there now. That kind of
Yeah.
girl is getting less and less the kind you'd see.
Mhm.
The men who are prepared for this kind of girl, so far I'm seeing the pushback, and I'm instead seeing the videos that they put out there, like the grumbling man. I don't know whether you got to, on WhatsApp, the grumbling man was there having to turn his pot of fufu,
Yeah.
saying, Mommy
Yeah.
has gone and I brought to her children and left me here, that kind of a thing. So I can see that there is that. And interestingly, the reactions to that particular video were very diverse, depending on who was responding. The women all came and said, yes, who be sending? He
Mhm.
did not do anything. He was only sitting down there. Now he expects what was going to happen. The men were coming to say, oh, poor man. The women were like, yes, mommy, go you. So I can see what is, and this is a forum of peers. We are all sitting down there, yet it was very diverse. The women's reaction to that same video as opposed to
Yeah.
its reaction to the same video. And that was what got me thinking, are we going to be on the same page about this thing moving forward?
Yeah. They have to start doing a little bit more. The men have to really start taking the initiative to support the boy child as much as in these initiatives that we have. And let me just tell you something. That whole video of the man cooking the fufu, I have a sweet little nephew. Well, he's not that little, but I have a nephew who cooks like a wizard. Like
Right?
him and I, the best time we spend together is in the
In the
kitchen.
kitchen,
And do
right?
you know what? It is so sexy. I have girls falling left and right and center because my nephew is a, and I go, how do you get all these girls? They keep calling you and say, Auntie, it's because I can cook. And so to the men who are saying, poor boy, hey, he's taking hostages somewhere.
Exactly, exactly. That whole, if we go there now, we'll just go on forever. Because you know how the gender roles,
Yeah, yeah,
we know about mothers-in-law who come, what's my son doing in the kitchen? I beg,
yeah.
who are sick and married, you should not be there. But then
No,
many of you, the fact that he can cook means you taught him to cook. So
yeah,
why don't you want him to do that for his wife,
for
for
his
his
wife.
partner,
And
if he
with
can?
joy. And
Yes,
with
and
joy.
yep, and
And
pride,
with joy.
and
Yeah,
pride.
with pride.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you'd be surprised now that wife that he has done that for is the one that is the more, you want that submissive wife, you want that
Of
wife
course.
as you said, earning it. That is part of earning the
Yeah.
respect
She
and the
knows the
love.
good thing she's gonna lose if she leaves.
Exactly, exactly. So the education has to go, because we cannot just do girl child, girl child, girl child alone.
Yes.
It's going to exist in what is still basically a man's world. She's
Mm-hmm.
going to have to figure out, while she's still holding her own and standing with her head held high and tall, how to also be, not become a god something Zilla, Brightzilla, whatever Zilla you're going to be, but to also know how to be fulfill her role,
Yes.
even with the new empowerment she's got. And
Yeah.
that's the point where we are saying everybody is just, she's gone way over, and that is,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of
But
it.
that's where our cultural background and our cultural upbringing, where the rubber hits the road, where we take our cultural pearls
Mhm.
in our upbringing, in our our basic training, and we merge it, or we try
Fuse.
to amalgamate it
Right.
with the current society and see what we can pull out that is good. But I think the best thing that could have ever happened to us, the best thing, Sister Ebert, was growing up in Cameroon, growing up in Africa, having those cultural norms that,
Still,
by golly,
still in
they,
us.
they're still ingrained in us, and it transcends to everything we do. And I think those are the things I'm worried about that we should not let slip as we train these girls. Yeah.
No matter where we train them, there's some
Yeah.
basic intrinsic things. I was glad to hear you say that, because don't look at her all educated and everything saying, okay, no, men don't count. No, they do. We never ever saying that they do.
Yes.
Place that they're supposed to have. We want to be empowered to support them, not
Yes.
come and overpower and take over. It's not a matter of like who was boss. I want to come and be the
No.
boss. Instead, that never helps.
Mm-mm.
Trying to not
Never does.
the child, because they're coming from behind. Trying
Yes.
to on par, not saying come and surpass and be dominant and domineering. It's a different thing altogether. That's not.
It's not even a question of being on par. It's a question of a functional relationship.
Right. When I say
it's a functional relationship.
Right. I mean the gap.
Yeah, of course. I totally get it. Yeah, but oh my gosh, that's a topic for another year or so.
I tell you. But I'm so glad it's our time, because I know how busy you are. We've made a rendezvous to come and have this. It couldn't work because you had to run here, run there, attend to a lot of things. I am so glad you took the time today to come sit here and tell us what you think about these things, because your voice matters a whole lot.
Oh,
and I
thank you so much.
Thanking you not just for being on the show, but thanking you for what you do to actually support the girl child. For you, it is not a mantra. It's not a slogan. Actually put your money where your mouth is. And we thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you too for having me on and letting me share my little thoughts. So
our pleasure.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.